Welcome to Lexivia English. Ready to take your English to the next level? Here we learn through stories, slow, clear, and fun. So sit back, listen carefully, and enjoy the journey.
Two giants, one goal. Let's imagine a world very similar to ours, but with one important difference. In this world, two huge and powerful countries, Russia and China, decided to take a step that changed everything. Russia is a country with a vast territory, a rich history, and a powerful army. China is a country with the largest population in the world, an incredibly fast-growing economy, and technology that surprises the whole world. For a long time, these two countries were neighbors. Sometimes they were friends, and sometimes they were rivals. They traded with each other and held joint military exercises, but they always kept a certain distance. In the Western world, especially in the USA and Europe, they were watched with caution. The Western countries had created their own powerful alliance, NATO, and had set their own rules in the world economy and politics. Russia and China felt that these rules were not made for them. They believed the world should be multipolar, where several countries have a voice, not just one group. And so, on a cold autumn day, the leaders of Russia and China met far away from cameras and journalists. They talked about the future. They saw that it would be difficult for them to stand alone against the pressure from the West. But together they could become a force that no one could ignore. An idea began to form. It was not just an idea about friendship or trade. It was an idea about creating a new alliance that could change the balance of power on the planet. The Beijing Treaty. A few months later, the world waited. It was announced that a historic meeting would take place in Beijing. The leaders of Russia and China walked onto a stage in a huge hall. The flags of both countries hung behind them. They signed a document that became known as the Beijing Treaty. This was not just another document. It was the announcement of the creation of the Eurasian Strategic Alliance, ESA. The treaty had three main points: military cooperation. If one of the countries is attacked, the other country must help it. Their armies will act as one. They will share technology and conduct joint operations around the world. Economic integration. Russia and China decided to create a new reserve currency to challenge the US dollar. they began to build huge transportation routes, railways, ports, and pipelines that would connect their countries and their trading partners, creating a new economic reality, technological sovereignty. They agreed to combine their efforts in the most important areas of the future: artificial intelligence, space exploration, and cybersecurity. Their goal was to become independent of Western technology. The news travelled around the world at the speed of light. Panic started in the financial markets. Emergency meetings were held in Washington, Brussels, and London. Some said it was a bluff, that the old rivals could never truly trust each other. Others understood that the world would never be the same again. A new superpower bloc was born. The world's reaction. The world became divided. Countries that were already allies of the US and Europe condemned the Beijing Treaty. They called it an alliance of autocracies and a threat to democracy and the world order. NATO announced an urgent increase in military budgets. But many other countries in Asia, Africa, and Latin America reacted differently. They were tired of being told how to live. For them, the new Eurasian Alliance was an alternative. It offered investments without political conditions and protection from foreign interference. Some countries began to show interest in joining the new alliance or cooperating with it. A new Cold War began, but it was much more complex than the previous one. Now, it was a struggle not only between two ideologies, but also between two economic systems, two technology platforms, and two visions for the future. The world turned into a giant chessboard where every move by one alliance caused a response from the other. For example, when the US introduced sanctions against ESA members, the alliance responded by refusing to use the dollar for oil trade, which caused serious problems for the American economy. The first test. The first serious test for the new alliance happened not in Europe or Asia, but in the Arctic. Due to global warming, the ice in the Arctic began to melt, opening new sea routes and access to huge reserves of oil and gas. A small country, supported by NATO, claimed rights to a part of the territory that Russia considered its own. Western warships were sent there. In the past, this might have forced Russia to back down. But not now. within 24 hours, China officially declared that it considered NATO's actions a provocation and a violation of international law. Chinese icebreakers and warships, built with the latest technology, moved north to join the Russian fleet. It was a demonstration of power that no one expected. The world held its breath. It seemed that war was inevitable, but NATO was not ready for a direct conflict with the combined power of Russia and China in this region. After several weeks of tense negotiations, the Western ships retreated. The Eurasian Strategic Alliance had shown that it did not just exist on paper. It was a real force, a new world and new questions. Several years passed. The world had changed. It had become more dangerous and unpredictable, but at the same time more balanced. There was no longer one dominant power. There were two. The Eurasian Alliance built new cities along its trade routes. It launched its own space station into Earth's orbit and created its own version of the Internet, independent of the West. But there were also problems inside the alliance. Questions arose. Who is the leader in this union? Is it China with its economy, or Russia with its military power and resources? The cultural differences between Russians and Chinese were huge. Sometimes it was difficult for them to understand each other. The world watched and waited. What would happen next? Would this competition between two giant blocs lead to a new global war? Or perhaps, would the presence of two equally strong rivals force them to be more careful and to negotiate to avoid a catastrophe? The story is not over. Leaders in Beijing, Moscow, and Washington continue to make their moves, and ordinary people all over the world, from small villages to huge cities, feel these changes in their lives. They look to the future with hope and anxiety, asking the question, what awaits us in the next chapter?